now moving into the second part of the skills development video, we will talk about different English abilities in the classroom. So if your library has students with different levels of English abilities, there are some strategies to help make sure that students are all practicing their English, but that all students feel included and comfortable in the lesson, and that the English ability is matching where they are. So the two ideas we will describe are peer coaching and language flexibility. And just to note also, by different English abilities, we mean there are some students who have really high English levels. So maybe they've been practicing English for a lot longer. Maybe they go to a private school, or some kids are just really good at picking up other languages. So you can tell that maybe the vocabulary words are really easy for them. They're able to read in English or answer the questions in English. So those are some signs of maybe a higher English ability. And then some students have a lower English ability. Maybe it's harder for them to pick up other languages, or maybe they just started learning English, so they're not as strong yet, and they're more at a basic beginner level. So you'll have many different English abilities in your classroom, but there are definitely some ways to help address there's definitely some strategies to help address these issues. So the first one is peer coaching. And we have 3 ideas here for students with higher levels of English proficiency. So the first idea is to have students with higher levels of English proficiency work with and assist students with lower levels of English proficiency. So students can work together to answer questions or complete any drawing or writing activities. So in the lesson plan, we showed you the middle section. That one has lots of questions. And so you can easily have that be a partner activity, and students can work together to understand the English and think of a response together to the question. And the next strategy is to have students with higher levels of English assist with translations throughout the lesson plan. So if some students do not understand the English, then the students with a higher English can help translate to Kinyarwanda. So this is a bigger challenge, having students to switch back and forth. So this will give them a way to help coach and support their peers by doing the translations. And the third idea is to have students with the higher English ability help actually read the story. So these students can practice reading the English, or they can read in Kinyarwanda. And this helps them have a sort of teacher or a coach role in the class. And then later on, students could go to them for help. So some background and important information for peer coaching is that this strategy really encourages and promotes teamwork and collaboration. So students will begin to turn to each other for help rather than always asking the librarian. So like I mentioned with the reading strategy, if one of the students is reading the story in English, then that helps signal to other students who maybe have lower English levels that they could go to that student for support if they have questions about the English. And it's also important that the peer coaching and support needs to be positive and helpful. So your librarian should really encourage the students with the higher English levels to be patient with other students and to be kind when helping them. Because it's not easy learning a new language, and everyone is starting at different levels. So it's really important to be patient and kind and encouraging. And another note, it's also important for the librarians to think about who would be a good peer coach in the library before you teach the lesson. So thinking about the students you have in your classroom, and maybe who would be excited to be a peer coach, and who would have a good attitude as a peer coach. And then with that also, it's important to think before which students could be paired together. So, you should be strategic about who works together to prevent any conflict. You know, kids have a lot of social dynamics, so you don't want to be pairing students who maybe just had an argument at school or things like that. So really being strategic about who is placed together will help make the peer coaching a lot smoother and more effective. Any other thoughts, Sally or Jean Rand, for peer coaching?
I would say if you have siblings, look carefully at their dynamic. It might be a good idea not to pair them. Or, yeah, I would say not to pair them, unless, of course, one of them is so terribly shy or afraid that the other one is the support.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thinking about siblings in a classroom or in the library and maybe trying to separate them, unless it's actually a better idea to put them together so that there's more productivity and engagement. So yeah, it's definitely something each teacher and librarian will have to think about. And so the next strategy is language flexibility. There's not really like a key term or one way to say this. It's just, you know, language flexibility or bilingual language in a classroom. And so the ideas for this are to allow students with a lower English proficiency to respond in Kinyarwanda and really encourage the students with the higher English ability to only respond in English. And then in both of these instances, the librarian or other advanced students can help translate into the opposite language. So not leaving it with just one. If a student responds in Kinyarwanda in the home language, then it's important for the librarian or another student to repeat back what that student said in English, or the other way around. If someone is responding in English, then it's important to translate to Kinyarwanda so that the students who might not understand the English are still a part of the responses in the lesson. So if a student responds in English, someone can help translate to Kinyarwanda and vice versa. And then some background of this strategy is that it's really important because it will help students feel more comfortable engaging in the lesson if they are free to use either language. And so students with higher English proficiency will be appropriately challenged and engaged in the lesson by focusing on only using English or having to do the translations. And then the students with lower English proficiency will also still be appropriately challenged and engaged with the content and lessons of the story while also absorbing more English at the same time. So this really helps meet students at their level and that they're being challenged appropriately in the library or in the classroom. Because if you expect all students to only speak in English, many students will disengage because it's too difficult or they're not sure what's going on. But if you allow them to only speak in Kinyarwanda, then there's no language learning, there's no English language development happening. So it's important to be flexible and to make sure that you're always, you know, translating everything, which is really good practice and will help them switch easily. So with that being said, any more ideas or thoughts about language flexibility, Sally or Jingren? Okay, great.